Welcome to our video presentation for the Financial Times and Bocconi Challenge. My name is Maxim, and together with Camilla, Nelly, Enzo and Saram from Group P5, we have chosen to propose a sustainable and inclusive post-pandemic recovery plan for France, as we truly believe that during these difficult times, affecting us socially and economically, it's crucial to look at the situation from every angle and set out a clear, sustainable and realistic plan, as well as ensure it is achievable within the next 5 to 10 years with the resources provided by both national and EU levels.
We decided to take France as a country because we believe it's going to be one of the future leaders of the European Union in terms of GDP growth, and also because of this positive approach in terms of sustainable economy. We also believe that it has the right infrastructure in order to implement these policies and technologies, to further implement them in the European Union, while also sharing valuable experience gained along the way.
Thank you, Camilla. We shall begin by briefly addressing some of the points that we will focus on today, which are the green transition, the ways to reskill and upskill, ways to boost digitalization, as well as ways to make Europe great again. However, before we start, Enzo will address some of the accomplishments by date.
Okay, thank you, Maxim. So now let's see how France dealt with the crisis so far. France has first decided to create some incentives for encouraging its SMEs and citizens to get greener devices and to get more electric cars. In the very same time, modernization was basically organized around two pillars. Those two pillars are circular economy and creating new from old. This push for modernization entails also digitalization and development of AI. When it comes to inclusivity, France will be decreasing its costs for employment of underprivileged youth, and it has also decided to invest for the retraining of partially unemployed people. So now I'm going to switch to Nelly.
Thanks, Enzo. So let's come to our first point, which is the green transition. Our objective is to decrease the per capita CO2 emissions to 3.25 tons before 2030, and we identified 5 key performance indicators for doing so. The first one is the energy consumption by companies and states, but we also want to have a look at the renewable energy usage, as well as the energy consumption per household. It's also important to have a look at the amount of material recycled, as well as the amount of material created. And of course, we should also have a look at the amount of meat sold. But how do we want to implement those changes? First of all, there should be a program put into place which supports the transition from aviation and road transportation to rail transportation. Also, we want to invest in the correct disposal of nuclear waste and renovate buildings to be more energy efficient. Lastly, we also want to promote environmental education.
Thanks, Nelly. The objective of reskill and upskills is supposed to be implemented by 2025, and by 2030 the results achieved. Performance indicators are unemployment rate, Euromo programs, and number of hours spent on practical and theoretical lessons. So Euromo programs will involve students being allowed to go to other countries to learn various technological skills that are needed for the development of European countries. Thank you.
Digitalization is key to an inclusive and sustainable economy, and that's why we want to make France one of the 3 leading countries based on the European Digitalization Index by 2025. The main KPIs that we will focus on are the adoption and investment in 5G, the adoption and investment of AI across businesses, the number of startups and their funding with a focus on women-led startups, the amount of tech competitions across universities, as well as the percentage of women in STEMs. And now Enzo will proceed with the ways to achieve that.
Okay, thank you. So first what we want to do is to create subsidies for a sustainable development of 5G while instigating norms and rules for artificial intelligence, since we know that legal frames are helping innovation. Finally, we thought that ensuring gender equality in the tech sector was also fundamental. We have identified that the digital industry is lacking women involvement, and we want to encourage women leader creation for BPI France and also for the development of women-dominated incubators. Now let's switch to Camilla.
Thank you, Enzo. We really want to make Europe great again, and to do that, we want this GDP to grow by 10% by 2024. We're going to track 4 main KPIs. The first one being digitalization index, the second one being inflation adjusted to GDP, the third one being unemployment rate, and finally GHG emissions data. And how do we want to achieve that? We believe that the European institution needs to invest in 3 big pillars in order to make Europe great again. The first one being cybersecurity. We want Europe to invest 5% of its budget in cybersecurity infrastructure in order to create synergy among Europe. The second point would be creating a digital euro. A digital euro will be able to create companies and jobs among European countries. And finally, we want Europe to reinforce the law around environment and GDPR law. All of these will make Europe great again.
So, to summarize together, the points that we have addressed today will enable France to substantially accelerate its recovery while taking sustainability and inclusivity as their #1 priorities. The aims, KPIs, and modes of operation should facilitate the implementation of these measures. Also, the diversity of the talents proposing their technological solutions, the existing businesses enjoying their reskilling and upskilling programs to educate their workforce should be the milestones to the return to growth. Tight collaboration between France, the EU Committee, and EU nations, as well as the other nations, will be the necessary points to ensure the effectiveness and efficiency of the recovery plan and the transition to a more digital, green, inclusive future accessible to everyone.
Thank you very much for your attention, and being a part of this challenge has been a great pleasure for us.